The Florida Gators have added what might be the last piece of their 2025 high school recruiting class. Dallas Wilson, you are a Florida Gator.
You are Locked On Gators, your daily podcast on the Florida Gators. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome back to another episode of Locked On Gators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. We are available daily and free wherever you listen to the podcast and on YouTube. I am Brandon Olsen, always your host, because again, every day, that's us. Even during the off season, we're still going to be your team every day. That's what we do here at Locked On. The Florida Gators have added an elite wide receiver to their 2025 recruiting class in Dallas Wilson. Whew, man. I gotta say this is a massive addition, honestly, and it's one there. Yeah, we had this. We'll talk about this insane recruiting story for a second, right? So, a couple weeks before early signing day, there's some traction starting with the Florida Gators and Dallas Wilson, who is a longtime commit to the Oregon Ducks. The night before signing day, we start hearing, hey, be pretty excited about it. Like, this is a great thing, right? Yeah, this is something we are expecting to happen. Then signing day comes, and everyone still thinks Dallas Wilson is going to be a Florida Gator. The coaching staff thought that Dallas Wilson was going to be a Florida Gator. Everybody thought Dallas Wilson was going to be a Florida Gator. Then Dallas Wilson goes on stage and commits to Oregon. Well, stays committed to Oregon, signs with Oregon. Then earlier this past week, we start hearing, hey, Dallas might be looking elsewhere. Dallas might be wanting to be released from his letter of intent from Oregon. Then he files the paperwork. Then the Oregon on 3 people start going, Dan Lanning's backing off here. He's just super, he's not interested in this anymore. Whatever nonsense that was of. But by the way, if you ever hear that when it's this late in the game, you're probably backing off because you know you're losing. So I will say Oregon was losing that battle easily. And Dallas Wilson, 4-star receiver and on 3, 28th player in the country. On 24/7, 5-star player, 26th player in the country. On ESPN, 39th player in the country, a 4-star. And on Rivals, 38th player in the country, a 4-star. This is the on 3 industry ranking, 19th player in the country. Like, he's top 40 by every standard, by everybody's standard, by every ranking, all that. Top 40 player there. Dallas Wilson. Florida Gators just added an elite receiver. And I will say this. I don't care to dispute it. I don't care to argue it. I don't care to debate it, any of that. I like Dallas Wilson's film more than Vernell Brown III. Which, you could say, duh, he's rated higher by, I think, everybody. So sure, you could say that that's the obvious one. I love his film. I think he's a tremendous film. First off, great frame on the outside. He's listed as 6'3", 193. I think he's more realistically 6'2.5". He's in that range, but he's listed as 6'3", 193. Speed on the outside. And if you watch his film, you're looking at a receiver that can do everything. If you look at Dallas Wilson's film from Tampa Bay Tech, you look at his film and you could see a receiver that does it all. Right? He's elite. Go up and get it kind of guy. Great size. Inside out receiver. I think you're looking at a kid who can do it all. And maybe his best trait, I love his willingness as a blocker. And not just willingness, but actual impact as a blocker. I think Dallas Wilson does it all. And let's be honest, that's something that Florida's going to love. And I think that fans don't notice it until you need to notice it. A lot of times that you see, 20-yard run gets tackled. It's a corner makes a stop, a safety makes a stop. But when you see a 50, 60-yard run and it's going to the outside, a lot of times that run even happens is because receivers are doing their job as blockers. Also, that matters with the screen game, right? You got receivers out in space blocking, need to be able to hold that block and allow screens to break up. I forgot what game it was, maybe Ole Miss, but Elijah Badger screws up the block and gets Chim DK lit up on the screen. Stuff like, I think it was Texas. It was Texas, I'm pretty sure, because it was I think it was the Aiden Warner start. But you look at that and it's like, well, if Elijah Badger holds his block, you probably get at least a decent gain from it, right? Dallas Wilson, again, 6'3", and he knows how to use it, especially as a blocker, but also, again, with jump ball. Like, we've been talking about guys like J. Michael Sturdivant. We've been talking about all these players, but being able to have a high school recruit that can go out and block, which this is also an outlier. We talked about Jonte Cook, who's the portal outlier of the under 6'2". Dallas Wilson's kind of the receiver outlier with now Moise Tunkara. But throughout Billy Napier's tenure at the University of Florida, he hasn't been getting these big receivers. All the receivers he gets are small, right? The only receivers that they've gotten that are taller than 6 feet, I believe, are Aiden Mizell, Dallas Wilson now, and Moise Tunkara. 2 of them in this class. So this is a thing where Florida hasn't landed these kinds of kids, but you need to land these kinds of kids, right? And I think that this is just yet another example of the Florida Gators adding a kid that wants to play with DJ Lagway. We'll talk about the impact that Dallas Wilson will have on DJ Lagway both this year and in the future when we get back with Locked On Gators. Today's episode of Locked On Gators is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account. It's called Locked On College, by the way. But if you want to catch any sports game, any concert, hey, Kendrick and SZA going on tour. And just know that if you're on Drake's side of that, you're on the losing side of that one. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams or your favorite artists live even easier. Said I've gone to see, I think I've gone to 10 events this year using Game Time. Think it's 10. That's where we're at with it. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On College for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code Locked On College for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time, baby. Did Rocket Money help you find any subscriptions you forgot about or that you were paying for twice? Right here, this guy that you're listening to and or watching right now. Happened to me with Apple TV. Had Apple TV, Apple Music Student. Didn't realize Apple Music Student came with Apple TV. Now Rocket Money. By the way, it was hundreds of dollars that I spent on Apple TV that I didn't need. I think it was 3 years worth of paying monthly for Apple TV when I was also paying for Apple Music Student that had TV with it. Hundreds of dollars. Yeah. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon today. That's rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Go to rocketmoney.com/lockedon. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free wherever you listen to podcasts and on YouTube. And the Florida Gators adding Dallas Wilson is huge for the recruiting class. Gets you into the top 10, gets you all that. But it's also just a huge addition if we're talking about making a better football team, building a better roster, getting a better football team together. Dallas Wilson does all that for you. Like he's the guy that you add in and you go, well, good with it. This is also another example of someone wanting to play with DJ Lagway. We've seen Dallas Wilson was at the bowl game, and there's the picture of him dapping up DJ Lagway as Lagway's walking into the tunnel. We know that this is, hey, I want to play with DJ Lagway. And this is a fantastic addition for DJ Lagway. I've been talking about this for a long while. And I know that when I mentioned it with Anthony Richardson, people hated it. When I mentioned it with DJ Lagway, people hated it. here's the thing. Even if you hate it, I'm right. You need these big-bodied receivers when you have big-arm quarterbacks. Anthony Richardson, you needed that because he was inaccurate. DJ Lagway, you need that because he's aggressive. He's going to throw deep downfield. He's going to throw into tight windows. You need receivers that can make those catches. You need receivers like Dallas Wilson that can go and make that catch deep downfield with a DB on him. You need a receiver like Dallas Wilson that can run a dig route and make that catch between the safety coming down, the linebacker dropping back, and the corner following him. You need a guy that can make those catches. You need a Dallas Wilson. And now you've got a guy that helps your championship window. He's there. You're going to have Dallas for 3 years. You're going to have Lagway for 2. That next QB that comes in after DJ Lagway, he's going to have a third-year Dallas Wilson with him. That's going to be huge. And also, we're not just talking about the future. Like, for me, it's easy to see a path to early playing time for Dallas Wilson, right? I think one thing he needs to do is kind of embrace development as a route runner. But outside of that, athletic ability, Dallas Wilson has. Size, Dallas Wilson has. You look at the ball skills, Dallas Wilson has that. The only thing that Dallas Wilson needs to really improve upon is being a route runner, doing the technician stuff. Also, we could talk about the attitude he has is just elite, right? Like, I know that I forgot who it was that shared it, but on Twitter the other day, I was scrolling, saw the video of someone telling, like, Dallas Wilson was at the OT7 stuff, and someone going, I fear God, when they matched up with Dallas Wilson, and Dallas Wilson going, I don't give a F who you fear. Like, that kind of, first off, arrogance and confidence, like, that's what you need in Gainesville. That's what we're looking for. And I think Dallas Wilson bringing that is huge. And again, this is a fantastic addition. It's another sign of this coaching staff not giving up, just relenting, and building those relationships. This is now, 3 players in the past 2 years that we've seen sign with someone else, and then before they touch a field in spring ball, Jameer Grimsley had like two practices as an Alabama Crimson Tide player. And then Nick Saban retired, and then Grimsley hit the portal. But this is the 3rd time in 2 years now where we've seen the relationship matters. Dallas Wilson signs with Oregon, and 2-3 weeks later is like, you know what, I regret that. And he has a place he can go and call home at the University of Florida and Billy Napier's coaching staff. DeAndre Robinson and Jameer Grimsley, like I mentioned. Like, this is the 3rd time in 2 years we've seen that. It's not a coincidence. Other schools don't have that frequently. Other schools don't have that almost ever, where a kid signs elsewhere and before it's time for spring ball, he's coming back. Other schools don't get that. Okay, I need to make that clear. That's a very unique thing to Florida, and it's a very unique thing to the Billy Napier coaching staff. I will give them absolute credit on that. They're great relationship builders. Thanks for making Locked On Gators your first listen of the day. Every day we are available daily and free reviews in the podcast and on YouTube. We'll be back. Who knows, right? Who knows? Could be a fun weekend. No idea. For Locked On Gators, I'm Brandon Olsen. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter. See you all next time.